we're going to talk about targeting your resume and cover letter. So what does that mean? It means that you have a particular job that you want, and you're going to target that job by working with your resume and cover letter, editing them, maybe even reshaping, adding in details, removing extraneous details, so that you are a more attractive candidate for the job. And you want to make the hiring manager's job easier. The goal of a resume is to get an interview. It's not anything else. You're never going to get a job from the resume alone. And if you do, there's a real problem with that company. It's to tell the story of our experiences and professional skills in a broader sense. So every person who applies for a job has most of the time we have a resume that follows us around, and that is the most edited and changed document in our lives. It is the one document you might work with for 50 years. So remember that. It gets us in the door, and then we do the job. But it keeps a record of who we are and what we've done. And we get that interview by showing that we can meet the company's needs. Companies hire us as employees not to create problems, but to solve problems. So when you're targeting a resume, review the job ad, and that's why you're going to bring a printed copy of your job ad to your conference with me, and we will sit down and look at the job ad first, and I'll highlight with a highlighter, just as you should do, skills, qualifications, and certifications in that job ad, and then assess fit. I'll look at my own skills, qualifications, and certifications against that, and then I'll look on the resume for the placement of job ad requirements. So the things that are mandatory, where are they on my resume and do they stand out? I'll look at the resume, see number 5, like a hiring manager. So if I were completely objective, what would I see first on that resume, and what would make me like you as a candidate or dislike you as a candidate? So when you're reviewing resume fit, ask yourself what stands out. So as far as white space, as far as bolding, as far as phrasing, as far as location, what do I notice? And then does the phrasing itself match? Because often job ad phrasing might be slightly different than the phrasing you have on your own resume. And you may say, oh, that's the same thing, but it might not be, and it might not be for that particular hiring manager. So ask yourself that question. Is the placement of sections on your resume effective? This is another really important question. Where does the eye travel? For English documents, the eye typically starts in the upper left-hand corner of a document, which is where the text typically is located and begins, and it travels to the right when it's just skimming. You travel at the top of the document from left to right, and then around and down, and then back up in a circular motion along that left-hand border, back up to the original starting position. So ask yourself where, and then usually you'll skim right back down for main headings along the left-hand side. So where did you put things? How close are they to the top? How much white space surrounds them? And what is located where? So what did you deem most important? Does the white space itself highlight your strengths? So white space calls attention to things, right? When something's surrounded by white space, I look at the dark thing in the middle or the bright thing in the middle. If you want to hide something, conversely, you'll put it in the middle of a paragraph. As you may have noticed this semester, I put a surprise in the syllabus, and some people got extra credit for noticing that it was there. Why did everyone not immediately notice it? Well, because people don't tend to read carefully. And if you're going to hide something, put it in the middle of a paragraph. If you put it off on its own, everyone notices. So I had a student who once had a 2.7 GPA, and that student surrounded that GPA with white space and then bolded it. And I said, is that really the strongest thing that you have going for you? Let's at least not bold this. If you have a 4.0, sure, surround it with white space and bold it, but 2.7, maybe not. Let's look at what else we can highlight. Is the formatting of skills on your resume effective? So how have you formatted it? If you are very capable in programming, then don't hide that. You need to make it very easy for someone to glance at the resume. Spend 3 seconds on the resume and find your technical skills. If you want someone to locate things, what do? Well, you don't hide them. And you make sure that they are in a spot where the eye naturally travels. So consider that. Take a look at your resume. Ask other people the first few things that they notice. Is the phrasing itself effective? So have you phrased your words, your accomplishments, in a way that will be immediately recognizable and desirable to the hiring manager? What are the job buzzwords? So consider what job buzzwords there are, what you know of the industry and the buzzwords that are in that industry, and how you want to use them on your resume. What do you want to stay away from? What can you use? What shows your understanding, and what just makes you look pretentious and conceited? So think carefully about what you use. And once again, what are your metrics? You need to quantify your achievements and show why they matter. So if you trained people, then don't just say trained 2 employees or trained employees. Say how many. It's okay if it's 2. It's okay if it's 6. It's okay if it's 35. But those numbers give the person reading the resume a sense that not only did this really happen, but that they understand better where you came from and what you've done. It makes the whole thing more compelling as both a story and you as a person. So give them details. If you increase sales, do some math and figure out how much. So if you always upsold dessert at the restaurant that you were at, then how much was dessert worth, and how much was the standard ticket, and how often did you tend to do it, and come up with a number. Maybe you increased sales by 5% on most days, most shifts that you worked. That's fine. Let them know. If you worked with particular software, you worked with databases, you did things that, you worked with a special type of program, or you received a certification, name it. Get the precise, exact, correct name and make sure that it's in there. And then look at those mandatory qualifications on the job ad again. Where are they located in your own resume? So they better stand out. They better be easy for someone to see, to know that they should bring you in for an interview. And then the preferred qualifications, well, remember, you will have done all this when I'm recording this. It's before you've done it, but the purpose of the job ad research is to find out the mandatory and preferred qualifications in your field for the path you want to be on. So how can you find those qualifications, and how can you acquire them? And where are you going to put them on your resume once you get them? So really consider this. Then what's unique about you? Many of you have stories that aren't standard stories. They're compelling, interesting stories that testify to your strength of will, to your character, to your work orientation and ethic, to your ability to overcome obstacles. So what is unique and wonderful about you? There's a lot that's unique and wonderful. I know some of you are saying, no, there's nothing unique about me. No, I promise. I talked to you for 5 minutes and I can see it. So why are you fantastic? What makes you really good in a job? And it might not be the same thing as the person next to you. In fact, it probably won't. But think about that and make sure that you can either include that in your resume or put it in your cover letter. So your best practice, tune your resume to the specific role with substantiating detail that shows why you are a great fit for the position. So that is a best case scenario on your targeted resume. Really think about this role and give the detail that makes someone believe, yes, you are the best choice. Beware. The more you change in your resume, the more carefully you must edit. So the next time you come back, you need to be really careful. This goes doubly for cover letters, because if you really target a cover letter to a particular job, it is very likely you will include details in that cover letter that you're going to need to delete if you use a similar version for another job. You don't want to tell JP Morgan that you want to work for Morgan Stanley in your cover letter. So be really cautious about what you include and what you don't and where it is. Quick job ad targeting. You can, if you have to make a really quick decision about job ad targeting and make something targeted, include a summary of qualifications at the top of your resume. a profile or a career highlights or summary. All of these are section headings that have been used in the past for people who are job ad targeting. Now, this is the type of thing that you could also include in your cover letter, but it hopefully, if somebody glances at it and you're in a hurry, you can create this and then someone will go, oh, they meet our qualifications, let's bring them in for the interview. What do you not do? You don't use an objective section. So please, please do not ever create an objective section. The few people that it's a good idea for are so rare these days that, I don't even want to talk about it. If you really think you need an objective, come talk to me. But in the industry, having an objective is seen as kind of silly, and that maybe you're somewhat naive. Why? Because usually an objective just says, I want this type of job, and you're applying for the job. So it's obvious that that's the job that you want. So what do? Submit every resume with a cover letter. That cover letter will tell them that's your objective, but it can give them more detail. So be aware you have to have a cover letter or cover email. And 50% of HR and hiring managers will not read resumes with no cover letters. The cover letter itself is a screening tool. This is an opportunity for them to see how you write and how clearly you communicate. So I have had HR directors tell me that when someone just sends them an email, and this happens, some people will just send a resume attached to an email without any text in the email itself. And they said, and that's easy, we just delete it. So you think you've applied, and really they just deleted it when it came in. You really want to think about what you're doing here. So we want jobs. That's the point. We're here, you want jobs. And we want careers, not just jobs, but a path. So careers begin with those interviews, and you get those interviews by writing cover letters. So I have my little therefore symbol, which is the little 3 dots. So logically, as you can tell, we have to write cover letters. We have to write cover emails because we want to get our resumes in, we want to have them assess us and bring us in for the interviews to give us the jobs that get us the careers. So we get an interview by showing that we can meet the company's needs. So we're circling back to the beginning. You have to know the company. You have to be willing to do research. So do research. I know you're not going to get an A or a B or a C on your research, and it's only going to count if you get paid. But don't you need to get paid? Don't you need to do that hour of research before you go in for the interview? So, make things a priority that don't always necessarily lead to an immediate benefit. The goal of a cover letter is to get an interview, and it's to quickly show the match between our skills and what the company needs. So remember I told you had to write cover letters? Here's what the job of a cover letter is. It's to show that match. And it's to highlight your professionalism and fit for the company. So how well do you communicate? How professional are you? Would you fit in? So you're going to be writing cover letters for your resume assignment. You want to sound professional appropriate in your salutation. You want to direct the letter or email to the correct person. And you want to meet needs and expectations in the job ad. In your opening paragraph, you're going to explain what you want, the job. So include actually the job title, and if there's a number associated with it, include that too. Where you heard about the job, if it was a job fair, an online posting. If you do find it on monster.com, I swear I will find you and track you down if you don't look and see if that same job isn't advertised on their website. And then tell them you found it on their website. Talk about who you know at the company. If you have a company contact that you feel comfortable with, so you met them when they were recruiting here, they're a friend of your family's. So you might say, I heard from so-and-so who has this role that you might be hiring, and he encouraged me to apply. And talk about why you seem like a good fit for this company. Maybe the company culture, maybe the needs, maybe your belief in their mission, maybe your skill set. So goals for the opening paragraph. Here's the shortened version. You need that job title, the source of the job information, where you heard about it, a company contact, and why you're a good fit. You're going to demonstrate you attitude throughout the cover letter. So you're going to talk about the reader's point of view, the reader's concerns and needs, how you meet those employer needs, because you're going to have a win-win attitude. If I can help you do this, we're all going to win. And you're going to focus on the other person or company first before you talk about yourself. So how do you talk about what they need or what they're doing? Well, that means you have to do research. You start with your research and a point about what they're invested in, and then you go to yourself. Your goals for the body paragraph after that first paragraph, as you go along, you need to talk about how you meet the needs of the position, the company goals, your special skills and experiences that might not get might not even be showcased on the resume, and illuminate and clarify strengths on the resume. So tell bigger, better stories. If it won't all come through on the resume itself, show me why that's important. And then the closing. You need to show that you're interested in interviewing for the position, because that's the whole job. You're going to provide an easy way to get in touch, and then mention any enclosures or attachments. So remember, be you-oriented, not I-oriented. So talk about the company. Demonstrate you attitude. So talk about the reader's point of view, their concerns and needs, that win-win focus, like if I think I can help you with this, I'm excited about that. Focus on the company first before yourself, and always edit carefully. Edit carefully.